But that's a really great question.
Well, great. So we are here again with Dr. Ben Goins with the iMedDo Detox formulas. Dr. Ben, welcome back, sir. How you doing today?
Doing wonderful. Thank you for inviting me on your show, Sean. I appreciate it.
Always great to see you. We had a real good call last month, and when we get into certain subjects, there's only so much time in the day we can talk about it. And I was just asking you when it comes to detox, because we're getting exposed to so many metals, we were thinking maybe lead, mercury, and you actually brought up cadmium, and I know we talked fluoride, but I guess when it comes to lead and mercury, which one is the most prevalent, and should we take one of those and run with it today?
So what I want people to know is out of all the heavy metals there are, the two most toxic are lead and mercury. Okay, so they are the most toxic. So if you don't know anything about heavy metal detox, those are the two that you want to learn about and focus on first because they are the most toxic ones. Okay, so that's a really good question asking about those. There's a little bit of debate on which one is more toxic. In my opinion, they're equally horribly toxic. Some people say that mercury is more toxic, but the thing is that the lead toxicity is kind of a stealth toxicity, and the people who are lead poisoning don't know they have lead poisoning. So to me, they're just both extremely toxic. It's really hard to say which is more toxic. However, out of those two, lead poisoning is very stealthy. So a lot of people had lead poisoning and don't know it. And if you have lead poisoning, you will definitely not know it at all. But it's primarily from like lead pipes. And you'll see this in a lot of people who live in cities and municipalities all over the place. Flint, Michigan, Jackson, Mississippi, a whole bunch of cities where they still have lead pipes. Those people usually have lead poisoning. But the one that's more in my face obvious is I'm seeing the mercury poisoning because from the dental industry, a lot of people still have the mercury amalgam fillings. And
Mhm.
so I guess short answer, I would say mercury probably is a little more toxic, a little more in your face toxic, but lead is equally as bad in my opinion.
So with let's say lead poisoning, what are some of the symptoms if it's sort of silent and you don't know what would be symptoms that you might see with lead poisoning?
People who have lead poisoning, it makes them well, have you seen the gas? There's unleaded gas.
Hmm.
Unleaded gas, right? So there was a time where they used to put lead in gas because now we have unleaded gas, right? And
Right.
they called it loony gas. It made people turn loony. They went nuts. Yeah. So
Wow.
lead makes people insane basically, and lead also makes people like hyper aggressive. And so like I just saw this on Twitter the other day, somewhere saying, they got they'll spray chemtrails in their city and then everybody's all fighting. That could be lead because lead makes people hyper aggressive. So if everyone's just angry and fighting with each other and they don't know why, it's usually lead. And the thing is, the government isn't really incentivized to do anything about lead poisoning because when people are more fighting, then that just it bolsters up kind of their criminal system and they make more money. So and then the real problem with lead poisoning also is that the antidote to lead, and I have a whole newsletter on this, and not many people know what it is because on TV they'll always say, "Oh, no one knows what the antidote to lead is." I know what the antidote to lead is. I've written about it. But the antidote to lead poisoning is gold. And you'll never see the
Mhm.
government giving out free gold. They give out free water bottles to the people in like Flint, Michigan and stuff. Like, oh, you got lead poisoning, have some clean water, have some water bottles, we'll donate that. But you're not going to see anyone donating free gold. But gold, especially colloidal gold, is a direct antidote to lead. And I have a really great newsletter called Detox Lead with Gold. I'll refer people to on my website, iMedDo.club/news. So that's really good. And the what lead poisoning does is it makes people crazy, hyper aggressive, and what it does as a biochemist is it interferes it's not just lead the element, it's lead the ion Pb2 plus, Pb plumbium or whatever is the elemental symbol for lead Pb, and it makes an ion a 2 plus ion, and what it does is it competes. There's three main +2 ion pathways in the body, one with calcium, one with magnesium, and one with zinc. And lead is like a monkey wrench that screws up all those pathways. And there's like
Mhm.
16,000 calcium pathways, 3,000 zinc pathways, 300 magnesium pathways. So there's just thousands upon thousands of pathways in the body that the lead damages. But definitely decreased intelligence, definitely insanity, definitely hyperaggressivity kind of stuff. Just off the top of my head, it does a lot of other bad things too. I remember there was some. I think earliest in American history, there was a big thing on the East Coast, like in the 15 or 1600s. It would be like 1600s with the apple cider got lead poisoned, and they were making and people were getting really bad abdominal pains and then the side effect of death. So people were dying. It will actually kill you. Lead poisoning if it's bad. So
Wow. And so there's a lot of cities out there that still have lead pipes that they're running the water through. I mean, I'm
yeah,
sure there's other ways it's getting in there, but
that's the main way with lead that I'm aware of. I mean, like there's a lot of lead in your car battery. However, people aren't usually touching their car batteries, and that's pretty recycled. So I don't think people are getting lead poison from their car battery much. But primarily, it absorbs in the water pretty well because, like I say, your body's trying to absorb important nutrients, and it works the same for all the other heavy metals. So if you kind of learn how these two worst heavy metals work, the lead and the mercury, it gives you a lot of clues on how the other heavy metals work. My latest newsletter was about cadmium detox, but cadmium also makes a CD2+ ion. And just like lead and mercury, which can also make a 2+ ion, it can interfere with those +2 ion pathways in the body, the calcium pathway, the magnesium pathway, the zinc pathway. So that's kind of how the two worst heavy metals work, and definitely how lead works. And a lot of other heavy metals work similarly as well, as to why they're screwing up things in the body so bad, like a monkey wrench, is that they interfere with our primary signaling pathways of the metal nutrients that we need.
So as long as we're on the subject, what are symptoms of mercury poisoning?
I haven't haven't thought about mercury too much lately. So mercury will give you headaches, nausea, and acne. It would definitely kill you if you got enough of it. Most people don't have enough mercury poisoning to kill them. It will, like lead, make people go crazy, but they don't really know it. Like the Mad Hatter in Alice in Wonderland, who had mercury in his hat. So it interferes with your brain. What else will it do? It'll, for most people where I've seen it, they're getting the mercury from their amalgams. So it's causing them brain fog. It's getting into their thyroid, causing thyroid problems, which is causing energy problems and basically poisoning their whole body. So low energy, anxiety, headaches, thyroid problems. I mean, there's just a whole host of all the heavy metals can cause like infertility type problems. Pretty much all of them can cause brain damage. A lot of them cause renal damage, so kidney damage. Yeah, it's really it's really depressing to think about all the bad things that heavy metals do, because just like iodine is a full body good for you thing, lead and mercury are full body bad for you things.
Right.
So
Well, some of that's very relevant because I am one of those people that has mercury fillings. And unfortunately, as you get older, you see this more and more. It's like, oh, that's not bad for you. That's not bad for you. And they push it, they get it out. And it's like, oh my goodness, it's bad for you. What do you know? Oh, well, let's just move on. And, we'll pick up now and we'll start doing it with something different. But back in the day, when they were putting fillings into kids, we were getting mercury. And so I don't know what that process is of eliminating it, but I do know, as we were talking briefly before the call today, that the iMedDo Detox heavy metal detox system does assist with people like me that are having issues with mercury fillings in my body and having that toxic material in my body. So
and not just assist,
that's
the iMedu detox system is the #1, in my opinion, thing out of anything for mercury toxicity. And if you read my newsletter, a really important point about mercury and lead that I want people to know is gold is a direct antidote to lead. Silver is a direct antidote to mercury. Okay. That's really important to understand. A lot of people don't understand that silver is a direct antidote to mercury. So when you have mercury poisoning, what you do to suppress it, first off, is you take more silver. And if you just think about this logically, when the dentists were putting mercury in people's mouths, if they put pure mercury in people's mouths, their body would just reject it. So what do? Those mercury amalgam fillings, the silver fillings, are actually 50% mercury, 50% silver. So they took the poison and they mixed it 50% with the antidote. So then they put it in people's mouths as a very sneaky poisoning that then it takes several years over time where the mercury toxicity builds up higher than the silver, and you'd have to take more silver to suppress it. And so that's what I recommend. So normally people take 1 drop of new silver, colloidal silver a day as part of the Imedu system, but I recommend people up their dose, do an extra drop, roughly about 1 extra drop per metal mercury filling in your mouth. So if you look in your mouth, count how many fillings do you have in there? Do you know how many fillings you have in your mouth?
I would say maybe like 6,
Oh, wow, you have 6. Okay, yeah. If you have 6, then you have
at least 4.
okay, then you need to be at least doing 4 drops of new silver a day, not just 1.
Okay.
You need to be more like 4 to 6. And when you start getting high dose of silver, like 7 to 10 drops, you also need to do probiotics with it if you're doing high dose of silver. But for you, you're going to want to be doing at least 4 drops of silver a day. And that's just to suppress the mercury toxicity. Then your iodine, the goal is to flush it out faster than it's leaking out. However, with that many fillings, it's hard to flush it out faster than it's leaking out, but you can maybe reach equilibrium. What you need to do is you need to detox a little bit, get 1 or 2 fillings removed, detox a couple months, 3 to 6 months, get 1 or 2 more fillings removed, detox 3 to 6 months, get 1 more 2, and eventually get all those fillings out. But you don't just take them out all at once. You have to find like a bioidentical dentist. I really can't stand dentists because they're the ones who put the mercury in. They should be taking it out for free, in my opinion. However, they don't. They charge it, they put the poison in and they charge you to take it out. But
Right.
you know, there are sort of alternative, holistic. I think they're called bioidentical dentists, is what they're identifying as now. I don't know what they are, but anyway, you can find these dentists who specialize in mercury removal, and they have to they have a little thing to catch it when they drill it, because if you just drill the mercury, it just splatters everywhere and makes people totally sick. So the good ones have like a vacuum where they'll suck it out while they're drilling it out and try to catch it. But even no matter how good they do, they still spill mercury everywhere when they're taking one of your fillings out, which if your body's already super toxic, it can overload your body with mercury. So that's why you've got to be really careful to detox first and only just remove 1 or 2 fillings at a time. Don't try to get like all 6 out at once and detox in between. But you definitely do want to get those mercury fillings out. And until you do, you have to take higher doses of silver to suppress. And then the other thing I mentioned, I wrote another newsletter on selenium. You can up your selenium dosage a little bit to also help detox mercury. I was reading all about, there's a really interesting about a lot of seafood, like fish has high mercury in it, but it also has high selenium in it. And it looks like some of these seafoods, like swordfish and stuff, they coexist with a high amount of mercury because they're balancing it with a high amount of selenium to kind of keep it. So read about selenium. It's also another really interesting nutrient that's very similar to silver in that it can help suppress mercury toxicity. So more silver and more selenium.
More silver, more selenium. Now, the iMedDo detox system now, which I've been on for over a month, I absolutely love it. That has the silver, it has the colloidal gold, which you were just talking about, and the iodine.
Yeah.
You just mentioned, but the colloidal gold, what are the benefits of that? For what is that? Is
I was
that
saying
for
that's a direct
the
antidote to
lead?
lead. To lead,
Lead,
yeah.
yeah.
So the silver is the direct antidote to mercury. The gold is the direct antidote to lead. So in a nutshell, you ask about mercury and lead. If you take the iMedDo detox system, you will suppress and flush out mercury and lead better than any other system, because that's what it's really designed to do. And pretty much all the other heavy metals are very similar in acting like mercury or lead. So if you can detox the 2 worst ones, it also suppresses the other ones too. Like my latest newsletter was on cadmium, and cadmium is in the same family as mercury, as it goes zinc, cadmium, and mercury. So cadmium is a heavy metal that's in the same family as zinc, which is good for you, and mercury, which is uber bad for you. And as expected, it has intermediate properties where it's toxic, but not as toxic as mercury, and it can interfere with zinc because it's kind of similar to zinc. So, and also can interfere with manganese and other stuff. So a lot of the other, the lesser heavy metals, if you can just understand kind of how silver detoxes mercury and gold detoxes lead, the other heavy metals are kind of in between. And the thing is, iodine will detox any of them, including the halogens. So iodine will flush anything out, but iodine's not anti-inflammatory because it can cause, when iodine's flushing these toxins out, like if you have a bunch of mercury in you and if you took way too much iodine, if you flush the mercury out too fast, it could cause headaches, nausea, acne, as the mercury is coming out too fast. That's why you don't do it that way. You do dose ramping. You use nascent iodine, which is effective in microgram doses instead of milligram doses. And then you use the silver and the gold, which are anti-inflammatory. And in particular with mercury poisoning, it's the silver, which is anti-inflammatory against the mercury in all your body and gut. And the gold, you're asking about the gold. The gold protects your brain in places that the silver can't get. The silver can protect the lymphatic part of the brain, but it doesn't get in the brain proper, whereas the gold protects the brain proper, as well as the iodine. So that's kind of how the
So
system works.
so the iodine basically is breaking it up and getting it out, and then the gold is basically keeping it from falling
Hurting
into
you.
another spot and literally getting it, helping get it completely out of the body. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. And also you can read about like amalgams, how silver and mercury will make amalgam and gold and lead will make amalgam. So it will bind to it and help, and it's anti-inflammatory. See, the mercury and lead cause inflammation. They cause damage on the way out. The silver and gold are anti-inflammatory and they're protective. And so and like with mercury, mercury can also cause, besides inflammation, it causes promotes bacterial infection. And the silver is the anti-mercury because it's antibacterial and it's anti-inflammatory. So
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of how to explain it. But yeah, but just with the system, a lot of people really do have lead poisoning and they don't know it. And that's why you really need to use the whole system with the gold. And that's kind of, a lot of people are doing these things individually. Like when I've been doing this for about 8 years now, I think since 2015 of it, I think. And people knew individually, okay, take iodine. Okay, individually, a lot of people were taking colloidal silver. Not very many people knew or had heard of colloidal gold. And so what I did was I invented the system of using these three things together in a system, and I used the highest quality form of each one, and I corrected the instructions and dosing on how to do it right. And it's just been really effective. It's getting all 5-star ratings. I mean, everybody who uses it loves it, and because it works. But an
Mm-hmm.
important part of it working really is that colloidal gold protecting your brain part of it, which a
Yeah,
lot of
that is
other
big.
detoxes were missing.
So in our first call, we talked about how the toxic metals, the heavy metals, how they affect calcium and calcium's ability, how it's binding. What kind of potential health issues would you be seeing with that type of thing? Is that, we see a lot of stuff right now with, I guess, a lot of what I would call brain calcification or issues with stuff related to the brain. Is it possible that some of that, in fact, is coming from, some sort of toxic metals that we've got that are building up that are working with that ability with calcium to bind?
Absolutely. So it can be either heavy metals or it could be fluoride or halogens. So for a lot of people, it's fluoride. Fluoride can bind insolubly to calcium. So fluoride sticks to calcium and makes the calcium get stuck there. So you've heard of like the calcified pineal. It's actually a fluoridated
Yeah.
pineal. There's calcium fluoride stuck in the pineal, and it's actually the fluoride that's the problem. And what it's doing is it's disrupting your calcium's ability to move around in your body. Your calcium's not supposed to be stuck there. It's used in 16,000 signaling pathways. There's lots of calcium in your bone as a primary bone and teeth. Both calcium and magnesium are stored all over the place, and it's meant to be mobile and to go around and do stuff. Fluoride makes it stick there, and then heavy metals like aluminum and these other ones, like we've been talking about, mercury and lead. And I was just reading about cadmium, what it can do. What cadmium can do to the bones is it causes bone softening. And so in my latest newsletter, I was talking about, because it's interfering with calcium, it's also interfering with the kidneys, and the kidneys reabsorb. Your body excretes some calcium into the blood and urine, and your kidneys decide how much of that calcium to keep in your blood versus how much to excrete in your urine. So when the heavy metals are disrupting your kidneys, that can also screw with calcium, which it looks like all the heavy metals do that, including cadmium. But what it was doing is it was causing bone softening. And so these poor rice farmers in Japan they called it itai disease, where they were getting soft bones. And so they were working, and then they would get bone fractures, and it would just be extremely painful because their calcium had been disrupted by this heavy metal, cadmium in that case. But cadmium's in the same chemical family is mercury, so you can think it's very similar. And so that's not good. If your bones are too soft, then they can
Yeah.
break and get microfractures, and then it's going to cause inflammation, nerve damage, probably bacterial biofilms. I mean, it can be a lot of these people. A lot of fibromyalgia is actually bacterial biofilm hurting the nerve. So a lot of problems. So yeah, to answer your question, it can be either it can be halogens or heavy metals, and either way, my system will detox it. But in particular, the reason that mercury, lead, and say cadmium, which I just been writing about, that's why I keep talking about cadmium, is my latest newsletter. The reason they interfere with calcium is because calcium, as a signaling molecule in the body, is Ca2 plus, calcium, the calcium ion, the divalent ion of calcium. So Ca2 plus, and mercury can do Hg2 plus, lead can do Pb2 plus, cadmium can do Cd2 plus. So these heavy metals like to turn into ions, and the ones that we've been talking about turn into divalent ions, and the divalent ions can interfere with other divalent ions like calcium, magnesium, and zinc are all Ca2 plus, Mg2 plus, Zn2 plus, and also manganese, Mn2 plus for cadmium.
So how is cadmium getting into our bodies? Is that coming through the food supply? Where's that coming in from?
Yeah, that's why I did the newsletter, because I didn't know. I hadn't really thought about it, because I've been focusing on the rougher heavy metals like lead and mercury. So it turns out that if you read my newsletter, I talk about it. Cadmium, like I said, is found in small amounts in zinc ores. So anywhere there's zinc, there's a little bit of it's cadmium, 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 and it's named after the Greek goddess Cadmus, Greek god Cadmus. But the way it's getting into the food supply is in fertilizers primarily. There are cadmium batteries, but I don't think people are getting exposed from that too much. There used to be cadmium in some PVC pipes, but they took that out. So I think in America, the main way people are going to get cadmium is from fertilizers. It has a lot of cadmium in it. And I think because they're trying to give the plant zinc, and it's just there's a little bit of cadmium contaminating the zinc. It's just how it works. But it can build up and it absorbs in the plant. So actually you're getting a little bit of cadmium in all your foods you think are healthy. And like in Japan and China, like when people would eat rice and their rice would be contaminated if the water that was going to the rice had cadmium in it. In Japan, it was a mining company that was dumping their cadmium water into the river. It was really sad, but then it was absorbed in the rice. They were eating their rice and they were getting cadmium poisoning. So there are a lot of just foods that you think are healthy for you, but your foods can be mineral depleted and have with mineral depleted soils, and they're adding fertilizers to it that puts the cadmium in it. And so, but I don't think it's like a lot. So as long as you're in a constant state of detox doing the Imedu system, you'll be detoxing cadmium faster than you're taking it in if you're only getting it from your food sources. But it does look like fertilizers are the primary way that people are getting cadmium poisoning in America.
Yeah, I mean, I deal with a lot of technology, and I get obviously a lot of people that come to me that'll have issues with, brain fog and a lot of these different things. And I'm really, you've really helped educate me a lot, especially from our first call on, how prevalent and how over the top the heavy metals, the toxic ones, have kind of made their way into our water, food supply, and even air. And so for me, the approach is always a multi-tiered approach, but that's why I love the iMedDo system so much because number one, I'm the poster child for that, being that I've got mercury fillings and, I'm exposed to all the same stuff everybody else is. But, I think it's really important that you're not just looking at you're not just treating the symptoms, you're really going in to dig for the cause of what's causing that. And so getting the toxic heavy metals out of the body and having that iMedDo system working along with maybe any of the other technologies that are out there is a really important factor. And, we talked last time also about how a lot of this can affect your thyroid, which then in fact is affecting your metabolism. And so now talking about those fillings, obviously being so close to the thyroid and obviously so close to the brain, there's a lot of people in their 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, like myself, that were sitting down at the dentist back in the day, and that's what they were putting in our bodies. So, there is a pretty large population in the United States right now that really is dealing with that. And that's totally separate from the lead in the pipes or the lead pipes that are running water through the cadmium that's getting in through the pesticides. I mean, and anything, it coming in through the air. So, this toxic heavy metal um, um, information is or protocol, I guess was what I was going to say, is very, very, very important in the world we're living in right now.
Absolutely. And one thing I wanted to mention about the mercury fillings is that mercury, I forget what the temperature is, like 86 or something, somewhere in the 80s. When it gets hot enough, the mercury starts to vaporize. And what I learned is a lot of the toxicity doesn't just leak straight out; it actually vaporizes, and people breathe it into their lungs. And so, and the lung absorption is greater than the body is designed to keep these metals out more. We only absorb a few percent in the gut, but in the lungs it can absorb like 10%. I think with cadmium it was like 10 to 40%. So the aerosolize was worse. But so people, it's summertime now, so if you have a lot of metal fillings, be careful when you're going where it's hot outside to keep your mouth open, breathe it out. Don't just suck it all in
Yeah,
if they're starting to vaporize.
yeah, exactly. So once you start on the program, so I've been into it now for about a month, but how long would you say it would take to really kind of get the body acclimated to start to get this stuff out, to start to, maybe see some improvements with metabolism and, maybe even with, thinning out the fog, so to speak, in the brain? Where do you put like a timeline? Is that a 90-day, 180-day? Can you kind of like layer it out on, kind of what that process looks like from a time frame?
Yeah, there's kind of different phases. So, I sell this
Mhm.
as a 6 month detox system. So you get it and it lasts you 6 months. And so, and of that, for women, it takes them a full month just to get to their full iodine dosage because women go up to 4 drops, men to two. You're already at your full iodine dosage. So it really takes you a full month to really get going. And then about month 3, you should really be going. And then the rest is just extra. But usually people start feeling more energy even in the first week. And with
Mhm.
brain fog, it just depends. It depends on, like you have a lot of mercury. So I really recommend for you to take higher doses of silver.
Yeah.
And you can, for if you're experiencing brain fog, also you can up your gold dosage a little bit. So normally you take one
Mhm.
drop of gold a day, but you can do gold kind of in the 1 to 4 drop range. I normally say do 1 drop a day no matter what in your water, and then do 3 more drops under your tongue as needed of the gold. So like
Mhm.
if you have brain fog, you can do 3 more drops under your tongue, but your brain will already start to feel better once you start detoxing. And it's kind of there. The brain detox is different, and so I don't know. I'm a neuroscientist too, and so a lot of people don't really think about how the brain detox works. Toxins don't just go from your brain out of your body. There's like a whole process to get from the brain, but your body really does prioritize the brain first. So if you have brain fog, that's bad. That means because your body is preserving your brain last, and then you're experiencing symptoms there. That means the rest of your body is suffering more than your brain, and your body will try to detox and preserve the brain first. Where does it go? A lot of the toxins from the brain will come out of your gut. A lot of them, that area right in the middle of the small of your back where you always need a massage.
Yeah.
It's my belief that that's one of the places where the brain and spine try to dump toxins from the brain. They dump it out into the muscles there, and then you have to drink water and continue it out. And it's you poop it out, you pee it out, or it comes out your skin are the main ways. But there's a process for getting the toxins from your brain to the rest of your body and then out.
And that's as you were saying earlier, that's really one of the primary things that the gold helps with, is sort of binding with some of that toxic metal as it heavy metal as it's coming out, and making it kind of find its way completely out, not getting stuck somewhere else along the way. Is that right?
Yeah, the gold protects the brain, and also the gold is used for protecting the liver. Also, your liver is very involved in detox, and the gold goes there. So yeah, there's a lot that goes into detox, but yeah, brain fog is not good. You definitely well, I know 100% for you that you definitely have mercury in your brain, but it's okay.
Hmm.
Just up your
Yeah.
silver dose, up your gold dose. You've only been detoxing a month, so I would do at least 3 months. You can do the whole 6 months if you want. Uh, at least do 3 to 6 months of detox, and then try to get one or two of those fillings out. then detox
Okay.
another 3 to 6 months, and then get 1 or 2 more fillings off. You have 6 fillings, then just keep repeating about 3 times. And eventually, once you
Yeah.
get them all out, then detox for about another 6 months to a year, and your body should be pretty clear. It's
Yeah,
not
I
overnight,
know.
sadly.
No, well, that's fine. And I think, I don't think most people expect it would be, only because, when you've had fillings in your mouth like we have in pretty much my entire adult life, it certainly had plenty of time to roost. So getting it all out isn't necessarily something I think most people would expect. But the interesting thing is that because of some of the all the other technology with the Tesla technology and a lot of the rife and a lot of the other stuff that we work with. I was just on the call yesterday with the gentleman, David Sarita, and everything that we do really should be a minimum of 90 days, period, just nothing less than 90. But there's something magical that happens within that 90 to 180 day, or that 3 to 6 month period. And so, you might not necessarily see it right away. It might take 6, 8 weeks or longer, but eventually, when you start getting to 90 days, there's something magical and special about that time frame, that it's really starting to give the body enough time now to really start doing its thing. And we were talking specifically yesterday more about recovering from things like nerve damage. And he was talking about cases of people that had nerve damage. And in the first 8 or 10 weeks, they might not have seen a whole lot, but it seemed to the curve on seeing results really started sort of exponentially moving forward as you started getting into that 90-day period and hitting the 90-day period and going through it. So, it just seems that the way the body works and the cycles that the body works with, 3 to 6 months are really, common cycles that the body kind of needs to, get all that information in, get the stuff out, and sort of any regeneration kind of get that moving.
And for nerves, when I was in graduate school for neuroscience, we were studying calcium. So calcium is involved in memory, learning and memory. There's a protein, calmodulin, which binds to calcium, and another one, cam kinase 2, in the neurons. So calcium controls your brain, learning and memory. And so you can imagine that's why lead and other heavy metals are so toxic if they interfere with calcium for the brain. It really does suppress nerve growth when you have heavy metals there. So
That's good stuff. Well, the iMedDo system, I have to go back to that again because I absolutely love it. And I have been going a little bit more than just the 1 or 2 drops with the silver, and even a couple extra drops just with the gold. Um, it's a system that's very moderately priced. I mean, it's $300 for a 6 month supply. And for myself, I'm a little over 200 pounds. So I'm looking at these little tiny bottles and these little tiny drops going, maybe because I'm a little larger human, maybe I'll have an extra drop. But, the thing about it is that it's the bottles, the ingredients themselves are very, very, very highly dense and very, very, very effective in very small doses. So, something like the iodine, just putting a, I know you say a drop, I put 1 drop on each wrist, rub them together, and then put them on my neck.
nice.
And initially, though, it was a drop because, like you were saying earlier, I didn't want to detox too quickly or pull too much stuff out at once. But now that I've been into it for 3 to 4 weeks, I figure, well, I probably have a little bit more stuff to get out of the body than most humans, but just a drop each. But it's the quality of the ingredients and the density of the nutrients or what's in there that really does not require you to have to use very much of it to be very effective.
And so for the quality, the iodine is called nascent iodine, which is the highest quality iodine. And the colloidal silver is 10 nanometer food grade nano colloidal silver. And being nano silver is important because nano silver is also antiviral. It's antiviral, antibacterial, antifungal, anti-cancer, and anti-inflammatory. Silver is amazing. And
It
gold is
is.
anti-inflammatory, protects the brain. And gold is, people are using gold for headache. It's the #1 thing for rheumatoid arthritis. Colloidal gold is. It's good for meditation. It has a lot of really interesting uses, which are less well known, but mostly any kind of spiritual or healing things you do. But for people with like heavy metal toxicity, they usually have headaches and migraines. And if you have a one kind of magical thing you can do with gold is if you meet someone who has a heavy metal migraine, you can do 3 drops of gold under your tongue, and it will either go away or be dialed back about 50% within 5 minutes. You can knock
Wow.
back yeah, it's very effective at fairs. I go let people try it. Like, oh, you got a migraine now? Awesome. Here, take some gold. If you put it in your water within about 20 minutes, you put it right in your tongue within about 5 minutes. But it's really fast. You can feel that anti-inflammatory effect in your brain, especially if it's somebody with lead poisoning. It's like really amazing. They're like, oh my gosh, my chronic migraine just went away. What's going on? And some people with some back pains and like leg pains and stuff like that. Just weird nerve pains that they have and they don't know what's causing it. It won't go away. That are probably caused by lead or some other heavy metal. When they take the gold, it fixes it almost instantly. So that's a lot of fun.
Super exciting. Super exciting. So I think we did a pretty good job today talking about mercury and lead. I mean, those are obviously two toxic heavy metals that we're seeing a lot of and being exposed to. And so I guess before we wrap it up, is there anything that you'd like to talk about, or anything else that you'd like to bring up to discuss that, or even the cadmium? Is there anything else that you'd like to present or say before we call it a spot here on this video?
No, I mean, that's just my area of expertise. I do fluoride and heavy metal detox. So I call it the iMedDo Ultimate Fluoride and Heavy Metal Detox System, because that's what it does. If you have any kind of halogen or heavy metal, doesn't matter which type, it will flush it out. It will help you. And so pretty much everyone I meet can benefit from using the system. Highly recommend it. And thank you so much for your participation and using it on yourself, because I mean, it's going to make your life so much better getting that mercury out. I'm telling you, believe me.
Yeah, I swear by it. And Aubrey, who's the gal that works with me, she's my coworker. She swears by it, and we literally have it with us in our laptop bags. So anywhere we're at with the computer, even when we're on the road traveling, she'll bust it out, get the bottles out, hand them over to me. We're doing it religiously, and I am definitely seeing results when it comes to more clear. I wouldn't say it had brain fog, but I would just say that I feel a lot more alert and a lot more awake. And certainly with knowing what my situation is with the mercury fillings. But I think the other thing also for me is riding it through that 90-day, I'm going to use it forever. That's not a question. I will definitely use this product forever. But seeing, the process of how my metabolism things might pick up as I start, getting the thyroid back in order, and getting some other parts of the body back in order, and actually even the pineal, working on decalcifying that, which would be nice to put that thing to use a little bit more, and expand on intuition and maybe some other things with manifestation. But the program that you put together is phenomenal. It's highest quality product line. And like I said, I really respect the fact that you've kept the price on it so low. $300 for 6 months is a very, very nominal cost. And even for somebody like myself, even if I go through it a month early because I'm taking a little extra, that's still next to nothing. I mean, that's a very affordable cost. And anybody that's out there that's coming to me for different types of technology, I really am focusing on letting them know that they really need to get this detox thing in hand, because you want to go after the symptoms, or you want to go after the cause and not just address the symptoms. And so getting that out and preventing a lot of these issues from reoccurring is also just as important as nullifying them when they come up. So
Absolutely.
yeah, thank you so much for that. So, Dr. Ben, on our website, USA MedBed, we've got it there. We just got some more stuff from you. We're looking forward to getting this out to more people. Thank you so much once again for your time today. It's always great to see you. And we'll be looking forward to catching up to you here very soon in another call.
All right. God bless. Take care, Sean.
God bless you. Take care. Have a great day.
You too. Bye bye.
Bye.